Have you ever tried writing or producing a song in Logic but felt uninspired or ended up just shelving the project because it just didn't go anywhere? You're not alone. Many of us have hard drives full of half-baked ideas that are just collecting dust. But imagine turning those unfinished tracks into polished songs with less time and less frustration. In this video, I'm going to show you 3.5 songwriting tools that will help you finish songs, unlock your creativity, and just make the whole process a lot more fun. I've been there, and trust me, once you start using these tools, you'll wonder, how did I ever work without them? Have you ever found yourself wanting to create a song in Logic, but you're just staring at an empty screen, wondering, where do I start? This tool is going to help kickstart your songwriting, and it has to do with pairing two pieces in Logic. The first piece is leveraging MIDI loops that are available to you in the Apple Loop browser here. Start by filtering only by MIDI loops by pressing here. Now start to filter through some of these loops until you feel inspired by something. When I'm listening to loops, it can kind of feel overwhelming to choose one because there's so many, right? So what do? Well, what works for me is to kind of wait for one of two things. Either I get some type of physical body shiver and that's a sign that I'm connecting to it, or a melody comes to my head right away and I want to sing over it. Let's take this 70s ballad piano 6 as an example. One thing, before we just drag it in, notice the tempo here of 80 BPM. If you like the sound of it here in the Apple Loop browser, make sure to change it in your Logic Pro project. Otherwise, it will just shift to the tempo of your Logic Pro project BPM. Okay, once we click and drag it into the project, you can now edit the MIDI further. Maybe there was just one part you didn't like, or maybe you wanted to add something, or maybe you just don't want to change anything at all. That's cool. If I like it and I just want to carry on with it, I like to duplicate the region by pressing Command R at least 5 times so I have some runway to sing over it and start writing. At this point, I'll usually add an audio track and start singing some ideas over the piano.
I know I tried, I couldn't find to make my way deep inside the valleys of the matters of the moon. At least I try and know out there to sit in mind, low I dare and even die and know I fade alone.
By the way, all these sounds in the Apple Loops library are totally free and you can use them in all your songs. Now, what might happen is this loop starts to become stale because, well, let's say you've been listening to it for a while and it's just starting to burn you out. If that's the case, now's the time for our second piece, which makes up our first songwriting tool. This has to do with adding a drummer track to the song. Start with adding the drummer track either at the beginning of your song or at a specific section. This is going to have an immediate impact on your group, and it should start to create some more melodic ideas that just come to you. For example, I'll start to add the drums about 4 bars in, but only the snare. Then at bar 13, I can have the full groove come in, something like this. Now you might be thinking to yourself, doesn't this sound kind of bad or kind of like stock? Yes, you're right. It sounds pretty stock, but that's not the goal here. The goal here is to create a mood with our melody and lyric to create the song. We can introduce and replace the track afterwards if we think our melody and lyric have potential and it's actually a song we want to continue with. Logic recently came out with a new tool in their most recent update, and it's a game changer to help beginner songwriters and producers create. This is called the stem splitter tool in Logic, which allows you to actually split a song into its major groups: drums, bass, instruments, and other. So how does this help with songwriting though? Well, sometimes you need to be inspired in other ways besides the Apple loops or besides the few chords you know on your instrument. The stem splitter can give you an inside look at what other songs are doing to create grooves and melodies. Let's look at an example of splitting a song of my own. By the way, the stem splitter is only available if you have the M chip on your Mac. I'm still running an i9 chip, I know, but I'll be using a different stem splitter tool to show you the same result. So check out how you can instantly hear the groove of the drums and the bass. They're completely separated.
Daytime, doing things I used to hate, won't leave you empty-handed twice.
You can go so far as to actually using this drum track groove over your 70s piano track. Now, this can kind of get a bit muddy with copyright, so stay away from any copyright. If you do end up using these sounds or drums, then you're going to need to replace them later so you're not doing anything illegal. The stem splitter tool is great to get inspired with your own songwriting. It's going to add more skills to your production tool belt too. As you begin to listen to more stems, you're going to start to notice patterns of grooves. Okay, so what's next? Well, you may have wondered, like, why 3.5 songwriting tools? What's the 0.5? The second songwriting tool is not that big, so I'm kind of just giving it a value of 0.5 until I get onto the third game-changing songwriting tool. Songwriting tool 2.5 is the notepad. It's a small one, I know, but I use it all the time to write my lyrics, and then I eventually write my production and mix notes in here as well. I like it because it's always saved within the project. I don't have to go searching for an Apple Note or a Google Doc. I just have them right here, ready to go. The last songwriting tool, 3.5, groups a few different Logic features, and it's available to you for free in the description. However, I suggest you use it only as a starting point if you're going to download that and build your own. This tool is going to save you lots of time. It's using the template tool. For example, let's take a look at one I often use. Notice I have things set up and ready to go, so I can get started writing my lyrics and melody right away. A lot of this is just going to be subjective to me though, which is why I suggest you download it, but start editing it on your own and then save it as a template by going to File, Save as Template. To take this a step further, go to Logic Pro Settings, General, and under Startup Action, choose Select a Template. So now notice when I start up Logic for a new project, it always asks me, hey, what template do you want to start with? And look at how many different templates I have based on what genre or style I want to create. Save time by getting some favorite instruments loaded up, add the plugins you like, set up markers for structure, add your favorite drum packs or drum sounds. Go so far as to pre-programming some popular MIDI data in place. For instance, most of the time I'm starting it with bass whole notes, a 4 on the floor kick, or snaps or snares on the 2 and 4. So I already have this MIDI ready to go. Getting these templates set up saves me hours of time and helps me create and produce a song in only a day. Unfortunately though, it doesn't take my song to the complete finish because you're still going to need to get your song mixed and mastered, which is why you should watch this video right here, and I'll show you my 3 genius Logic Pro mixing tips that transform my music and just help me get past that beginner stage.